Hollywood Hills. It's really tough to tell at this point in time if there's more than one person inside the vehicle. We don't know if it's a male or a female. We haven't got that information from the LAPD. We just had their initial reports that we heard that they believe it's a hit-and-run suspect out of Hollywood in the pickup truck that you see there. So they're going to continue to follow this with the patrol cars right behind the suspect so they can take the suspect into custody if the suspect decides to make a run for it. Unless the suspect starts to drive erratically at a high rate of speed, the patrol cars will stay right behind. And now you see what we've been seeing as we watch this, the suspect almost coming to a stop in the vehicle, and then they'll start to just roll again. They'll start to slowly take off. There isn't a lot of oncoming traffic. This is westbound on Mulholland. I think we're about ready to hit Coldwater Canyon in about a mile or so. And we don't see much westbound traffic in the opposite direction. So in that matter, we don't see a lot of danger as far as vehicles traveling right towards the suspect and maybe the suspect pulling into that oncoming lane. But certainly a lot of indecision right now on the part of the suspect. Unfortunately, they're not traveling at a high rate of speed, so we don't see much in the way of danger to the community that we see in most of these types of pursuits or in pursuits in general. So very slow speed on Mulholland, westbound. And boy, traffic is starting to be affected on the westbound side of Mulholland. It's backed up, I don't know, a half mile or so, but it's going to get worse by the moment. Not a lot of traffic and volume on Mulholland at this hour, but certainly there is some. It's not affecting the eastbound lanes, but westbound, you see all the patrol cars right behind the suspect, and then we don't see much traffic in the opposite direction. Now, LAPD may have a lot more information on the suspect than we do at this point in time. They may know exactly who they're dealing with. We just don't have that information privy to us. And of course, they're hoping the suspect will just pull off and this will be over. But once again, believed to be a suspect involved in a hit and run in Hollywood. We believe rather recently, we can push in once again, and it does appear that there's a bit of an indentation on the hood and maybe some indication that the vehicle was involved in an accident by the look at the front bumper. But we can't tell. All the windows are blacked out, so we really can't get an idea if there are more people than just the driver on board that vehicle at this point in time. It's continuing westbound on Mulholland, slowly curving around some of these streets. There are a couple of homes off Mulholland in this area, and eventually the vehicle will come to Coldwater Canyon, and we'll get an idea whether or not the suspect wants to continue on. We were on Laurel Canyon, northbound coming out of Hollywood, and then the suspect got on to Mulholland Highway traveling westbound. And you can see they're staying in their lane, not driving erratically. We have an LAPD helicopter overhead. Say again, Jay? Okay, so I'm getting some information. No injuries, misdemeanor hit and run. Happened in Hollywood, and that's information we're getting from the LAPD. So it looks like as long as this pursuit continues to be at a slow pace, LAPD will continue to have their patrol cars right behind the suspect. But we've seen before in some instances that the suspect might drive like this for a time and then all of a sudden take off and drive erratically at a high rate of speed. And then a lot of times that's when LAPD will go into a tracking mode, a surveillance mode, if you will, just not to push the driver or incite the driver to drive at a higher rate of speed and become a danger to the public. But at this point in time, it is so slow, we believe that they will just keep the patrol cars behind him. And we are getting information they may throw out a spike strip, which is really easy to do when you have a slow speed pursuit like this, because you can get officers in a position, and I believe that's going to come up just in a moment here at Coldwater Canyon. If you open up out of the shot a little bit, you'll see Coldwater on the bottom of your screen, and that's where it sort of joins up with Mulholland Highway. So right at that intersection, more than likely officers are trying to hide behind a tree and then throw out the spike strip. It'd be really difficult for the suspect to turn around. They're going to have to stop. You can see the officer there ready to pull the spike strip across the westbound lanes. They've stopped all eastbound traffic, and more than likely if the suspect doesn't stop, then they're going to get at least a tire flat or two, and then at that point in time it will affect this pursuit. And there you go, right over the spike strip. More than likely both the front tires have now been deflated. It happens slowly. It doesn't happen very quickly because they don't want a high-speed vehicle or a vehicle traveling at high speeds to lose control and then flip over or hit someone. At this point in time, though, it'll continue on for a little bit, but more than likely those two front tires are going to go flat here in just a moment. Yeah, we're getting information now. They're saying both tires are hit. It was an effective spike strip, And you can tell almost as you push in there, it looks like maybe that left front is really starting to get flat. Once again, it doesn't happen immediately. It happens slowly, and that's for a reason. But once both tires are flat, it will be extremely difficult to control the vehicle. And then at some point in time, once you get down to the rim, it's almost impossible, and the vehicle will slow eventually. At this rate of speed, though, these pursuits can go on a long time. Just on flat tires. We've seen that in the past. At a higher rate of speed, of course, that rubber comes off quicker, and you get right down to the rim, you get sparks, sometimes you get a fire, and you get a vehicle that's completely uncontrollable. But right now, we're still on Mulholland Highway, westbound in the Hollywood Hills, just past Coldwater Canyon, and it looks like you see another patrol car there. I doubt they do another spike strip because that one was effective. We're at Beverly Glen now, and Mulholland, and continuing. The suspect is continuing to travel westbound, but more than likely both the front tires will be completely flat here in a moment, and we'll just have to see how this continues. But as long as it's at a slow pace like this, nobody's really too worried about endangering the public. We're not seeing it as a big traffic incident, and once again, LAPD does have several patrol cars right behind, and they have a helicopter overhead. If you didn't hear me earlier, it is a misdemeanor hit-and-run non-injury incident that happened in Hollywood. And we understand that turn there put the suspect northbound on Coldwater. So heading up towards the San Fernando Valley now, coming down the hill. You will have a lot of traffic coming southbound on Coldwater. It's just a high volume on that route traveling southbound out of the valley down towards Los Angeles. So you see all those cars coming northbound. This is southbound. It looks like it's becoming more difficult for the suspect to control the vehicle. There's some hesitation once again. We've seen that from time to time. You can see the right front tire is completely flat. The left front, we believe, is as well. And when the suspect does try to accelerate, if they do, it can be really hard to control the vehicle. We hope it doesn't run into another car. But we haven't seen high speeds. We're on Coldwater northbound, coming down the hill, away from Mulholland, traveling into Studio City towards the San Fernando Valley. And as you can tell, it's an extremely slow-paced pursuit at this time. And that's great news. We've seen so many of these pursuits end up with somebody getting hurt. In this case, with a vehicle traveling this slow, it more than likely no one will. Now, it's interesting. We've seen the suspect do this multiple times, and that's every time there's a turnout, pretend or appear to go into that turnout and then just continue. That's about the third or fourth time it looked like the suspect was going to go into a turnout. Maybe the pursuit would be over, and then all of a sudden they decide, no, I'm not going to do that, and they continue on. Again, with the windows blacked out like that, it's really difficult to tell if there's more than just a driver on board the vehicle. There's a good look at the tire. You can see once the turnout comes out, once again, you see a little area where they may be able to pull over. It looks like they think about it for a moment, and then they just continue on. But with the windows blacked out like that, it's impossible for us and maybe even the LAPD to tell how many people are on board the truck there. And boy, that is certainly something they want to know exactly what they're dealing with. They may have some information from the initial incident when that hit and run happened in Hollywood. They may have got some information from witnesses, how many people they believe are on board the vehicle. Right now, we just don't know that. We're on Coldwater Canyon, once again, northbound, headed up into the San Fernando Valley, into Studio City. You see the row of patrol cars right behind the vehicle, and then you see a lot of traffic. That's the southbound traffic on Coldwater leaving the valley. It's always pretty highly traveled this time of the morning. Looks like they may possibly try a pit maneuver. When a slow speed pursuit, you can do the pits very effectively. You always worry if you hit the vehicle, if there's oncoming traffic, it'll slide into that oncoming traffic. But if the vehicle stops like this and makes a little bit of a turn, and boy, this is the first time we've seen the suspect accelerate. Here goes the pit, no traffic coming in the opposite direction. They'll hit the rear part of that vehicle, and it just did not work effectively that time, but it certainly got the suspect's attention. They'll try it again. If they can get up on there, leverage the left portion, the back part of that vehicle, you see it spun out. They'll try and get another vehicle in front of it if they can, but nope, it looks like the suspect was able to continue on. They always are concerned about traffic in the opposite direction, so they won't try the pit maneuver again until some of that traffic on the southbound side has eased up or they have a break there, but they may try it again as long as they can do so safely. You really get an idea now how difficult it is to control the vehicle. You see the way that tire is coming off the rim. It will be on the rim here in a moment, and thank goodness we're not traveling at a high rate of speed, because you certainly can tell the suspect is losing control of the vehicle, and if he does, he or she, the suspect, then goes into oncoming traffic, somebody could get hurt. It's not a high-speed pursuit by any means, but certainly could still be dangerous. They will try pit maneuver again, but only if they're in a situation where they can do it safely and not push that vehicle, the suspect vehicle, into another car. As I mentioned, there's usually a lot of traffic coming southbound on Coldwater. Most of it's to the south of us, out of the San Fernando Valley. They may try the pit maneuver against once here again, or it looks like the suspect may be deciding finally to pull into a driveway to a home. I think they'll try and wedge him in at this point in time so he can't get back out. It's certainly exactly what they did. They'll push the rear portion of that vehicle so the suspect really can't try and get back on Coldwater Canyon and drive away, and now you have suspects behind there. You see officers behind the doors with their guns drawn. They don't know exactly what they're dealing with, and a situation like this, it's pretty dicey. They certainly hope the suspect will just start to obey their commands. You know, they're yelling at him. They got a bullhorn. They can tell him to get out of the vehicle. We understand he may be trying to reverse the vehicle. They got him pinned in pretty good. It wouldn't surprise me if they pin him in even more, and certainly that's what they've done. So they're going to push him up against the shrubs there. Now the suspect really doesn't have a chance to try and get away. The vehicle will not be able to continue on, it appears. And now it's just a standoff between the suspect and officers. They'd like to get him out of this vehicle without incident, certainly. They're always concerned about what could happen if it escalates into a gun battle. They don't know if the suspect has a gun, and certainly they worry about the background in a case like that. We're right next to a home. We can pull out just a little bit. This is right on Coldwater Canyon. You see, it looks like somebody inside the home decided they wanted to get out, or officers are maybe trying to get some of the vehicle, people out of those homes. That was unclear. But Coldwater Canyon shut down in both directions north of Mulholland Highway, and it's just a standoff now between officers and the suspect. Hopefully soon he'll just give himself up or herself up, and this will all be over. But certainly the pursuit portion appears to be over. It doesn't look like the suspect can continue on with the way LAPD has him wedged here in this driveway against this shrubs next to this house. Yeah, the officers, we're hearing some of the, thank you, Marcel, we're hearing some of the chatter. Officers are having a hard time seeing inside the vehicle because of the glare and the fact that the windows are blacked out. Certainly makes it extremely difficult for them, and that's why officers really don't like people to tint the front windows. We get away with the back, but they're going to use a beanbag to break the window, it appears. That's going to be the next tactic they're going to try here, from what we understand. Looks like the back one may have been broken, and they're going to try and break the front one here in a moment, and hopefully that will persuade the suspect to give themselves up. You see they may have just tried it there, and a portion of the trim on the vehicle may have just fallen, but officers are still trying to do their best to get the suspect out without incident here. They may have a really good idea who they're dealing with. They may have some information. You see the back window there? The right back window of that vehicle was just shot out with a beanbag. The next step, if the suspect won't come out, they may put gas inside there, some tear gas, shoot that inside the vehicle. And in most cases, once you do that, the suspects will get out pretty quickly. That's almost impossible to tolerate. So we will see what their tactics are going to be, but you can tell they've shot several rounds of the beanbag to break up the windows of the vehicle, and I think if the suspect doesn't give himself up, they may shoot a gas canister into the suspect, into the vehicle here at any moment. So it looks like officers have backed off a little bit. It appears that they're giving him or her verbal commands, trying to get the suspect out of the vehicle. Obviously, it's hopeless. There's nowhere to go, and at this point in time, it appears the suspect just is not obeying the instructions from the officers. You see how many patrol cars are behind this. Now, if you travel Coldwater Canyon here, north of Mulholland, is shut down in both directions, so you can't get through. And it looks like if this takes a while, that could really affect traffic, especially southbound. So many people use Coldwater Canyon southbound out of the valley towards the LA Basin, and right now Coldwater Canyon on the southbound side is closed. They're just trying to get the suspect out of this situation, try and reason with this individual, tell him or her that there's just no place to go, get the suspect to give themselves up. If this does continue, I could see them shooting tear gas inside the vehicle. And as I mentioned earlier, that's pretty intolerable. In most cases, when that happens, the suspect will get out immediately. We're not sure if it's just the driver. We haven't heard that information. We believe kind of that's the case, because if there were more individuals in the vehicle, we think we would have heard that from the LAPD at this point in time once they broke out the windows. So it appears that it may just be the driver, but certainly we haven't confirmed that. And now it's just a standoff between that driver and the LAPD. You can see on the bottom of your screen, they're looking in as best they can to get an idea what's inside or who's inside the vehicle. And they're also trying to make sure the area is clear. You just never know. It's very difficult for officers in a situation like this because they don't know if the suspect is armed. It's a misdemeanor hit and run incident that happened in Hollywood with that vehicle. No one was hurt. But more than that, then you can see the tire is moving, so it looks like the suspect is really trying to see if they can't back the vehicle up. You see it moved back a little bit and then move forward, but with the two front tires flat and with the LAPD patrol car right behind it, it's unlikely the suspect's going to be able to get away. And hopefully soon now the suspect will realize that and just give himself up. There's not a huge traffic incident up here, but the Coldwater Canyon, once again, especially if you travel it southbound, maybe go over to Laurel. Think about that as an option, because this goes on for a while. It will affect the drive on Coldwater Canyon here in the Studio City area. Why don't we make an orbit? We're going to actually try and make a little bit of an orbit, come around the other side. We did hear that they broke out the window in the back, so we'll get a better look of the rear window of that truck and see if the beanbag actually broke the window out. That helps them a lot. That really gives them an idea exactly what they're dealing with inside the vehicle. They mentioned earlier, we heard it on the scanner, that the glare from those blacked out windows is making it difficult for them to see inside. So as we come around, we'll get a little better idea of exactly what we're dealing with and they're dealing with, that they did shoot out the rear, or they just shot out the rear right window on the vehicle where you could see the hole in there. And that, I can't tell, Marcel, the monitor up here is so small, but okay, there's a hole, it looks like, in the back, but it didn't bust it out. So officers are just sort of evaluating exactly what they have right now, what their next process, next step is going to be. I don't see a canine here. Sometimes they bring a canine out in situations like this. At this point in time, though, if this continues on, it wouldn't surprise me if they shoot some gas inside the vehicle, some tear gas, and see if that's not effective. Obviously, they want to get this over with. They want to get it over with without anyone being injured, and they want to open up the roadway once again as well. That's good. You can keep coming around tight. Copy. So you can tell we have a pretty steep shot right now, but even with this, it's really difficult with the blacked out windows to get any idea what's going on inside the vehicle, or if we have more than one person, more than just the driver inside the truck. We could push in as tight as we can go, but really there's really no way for us to tell at this point in time. We did see the damage to the front portion of the vehicle. They had a spike strip they threw out, and that was got the front tires flat. It was never a high-speed pursuit. It was pretty much a slow-speed pursuit, even before the tires were flat. Once the tires were flat, the suspect did try and speed up just a little bit, but then they started to lose control of the vehicle and finally decided for a moment to turn into this driveway. There was indecision. It looked like the suspect was going to try and move away. That's just some exhaust that we see from time to time through our shot when you saw it get a little blurry there. But then the suspect, by the time they decided to try and pull back onto Coldwater Canyon, LAPD patrol car hit him on the right rear, spun the vehicle around, and then sort of wedged him in up against the shrub there. The back tires were moving. The suspect was trying to get away, trying to get out of that situation, but it appears he was unable. They've got him pretty much blocked in now, and I don't think the suspect will be able to get out. Why don't we go back around to where we were before? Just make an orbit around this for me if you would. But standoff continues. Coldwater Canyon shut down in both directions. I'll give you a bit of a wide shot. You can see here in front of some of these homes, and you can see some of the people are coming out. It can be dangerous, though. I mean, if suspect comes out armed and would show that weapon to officers or look like he's tending to attack the officers, they would open fire. And so that's why they're really concerned in a situation like this about the backdrop, about what's behind this area. It wouldn't surprise me if they start to evacuate some of the homes as a precaution. It's unclear if they actually have communication with this individual yet. We know they're giving them commands. We know they're telling the suspect to come out, but it's unclear whether or not the suspect is actually talking with officers, if there's anything going on. We do know that the back window is broken out. We know that the right rear window, as you can see there, has been broken out with a beanbag round. As far as the tear gas is concerned, it's unclear whether the officers at the scene have that or they have to bring some in. And a supervisor would probably be the one who would be in charge of that. But right now it's just a standoff in front of this home on Coldwater Canyon. It's to the north side of Mulholland Highway in the Studio City area in the Hollywood Hills. Traffic will be a factor on Coldwater right now. If you know anybody who does travel Coldwater, especially southbound, you might want to avoid this. Northbound, you could turn around and just go back to Mulholland Highway. Southbound, you get up in the hills, it could be a little difficult, and there's a lot of volume southbound. They have it shut down in both directions now, and we're just awaiting to see if they can somehow talk the suspect out of the situation peacefully. I'd say it's been about 10 minutes now since the suspect pulled in and the pursuit ended. The pursuit didn't go on too long. It was slow speed out of Hollywood. If you didn't hear me earlier, it is a hit and run suspect. It's a misdemeanor, no injury incident that happened somewhere in Hollywood. We're not certain exactly where. And then right at this point in time, we just have a standoff, as you can see, and they just have to be patient. There's no reason to rush this. We're really not endangering anybody at the moment, but their cooler hands will prevail. They'll try as best they can to get the suspect to come to their senses and give themselves up. But right now, there's no indication that that is going to happen anytime soon. Now you see officers backing away behind that vehicle, behind that shield, and I think what they're doing is just trying to get a better look inside the vehicle, trying to assess exactly what they're dealing with. They're going to try and maybe beanbag the front windshield now, it looks like, and so they're getting off to the right side of the vehicle. A beanbag gun is out now, right behind that red SUV, and more than likely they're going to shoot another round inside or at the vehicle on the right front window and see if they can open that up. That'll really give them a better idea what they're dealing with, and hopefully the suspect, just realizes there's no way out of this. They start shooting the beanbag rounds inside the vehicle. You can imagine how loud that is. It busts out the windows, how startling that must be. But they've done it twice. The suspect hasn't budged. They haven't come out. They haven't opened the door. There's no indication that they are going to do that. From what we've seen, we did see the tires trying to move a few moments ago. Suspect thinking maybe they could get out of this situation and keep going on Coldwater Canyon, but they've got the vehicle wedged in there pretty good. I think we may see another beanbag round being shot in there at any moment, and I believe that's what the tactic is there. We saw a beanbag gun come out, the officer behind the shield, and then behind that red SUV, and just trying to get themselves in a position so the more information they have, the better that they can handle these things. The more they see, the more that they can acquire from opening up these windows, maybe getting some communication established with the suspect. Better chances are of getting the suspect out of the vehicle safely. All right, copy that. So if you are just joining us, we had a slow speed pursuit come out of Hollywood. The truck that you see there, that pickup truck, was involved in a misdemeanor hit and run incident in Hollywood. No one was injured. At that point in time, though, a pursuit started of this vehicle. It came up on Laurel Canyon to Mulholland, then Mulholland over to Coldwater, and then northbound on Coldwater headed towards Studio City and the San Fernando Valley. Suspect on several occasions looked like they were just going to pull off into a turnout. Then they kept going. In no time did it get over maybe 15, 20 miles an hour, about that rate, so it wasn't a dangerous pursuit, but because it was so slow and on a two-lane road, Coldwater Canyon and Mulholland Highway, at Coldwater and Mulholland. LAPD officers put out a spike strip. They got both of the front tires, and then after that point, it only went on for maybe another 3 or 4 minutes, and it ended up here on Coldwater. This is the north side of Mulholland in Studio City in front of this home here, and since then there's been a standoff. They've used a beanbag gun to bust out a couple of the windows. You see that right rear window there, that's been busted out. Also, the rear window's been busted out. We thought they were going to use another round to possibly break out the right front window. Saw officers come around on the bottom of your screen. And I see there, we are hearing some information. You see those people down there? They're waiting to get them out of the way. Open up a little bit more, Marcel, just for a moment. And it looks like they're shutting things down, but they don't want these people coming southbound on Coldwater Canyon to continue south and possibly get into the line of fire if this should escalate. So that's why they're waiting to shoot in another beanbag round. At least that's what we believe at this point in time. Once they have that secured, we believe another round is going to be shot into the right front portion of the window there. The passenger side window, and we believe that's going to be what their next step is going to be. We don't believe, or I've heard possibly the units here at the scene don't have tear gas in their vehicles, but it's a possibility they'll bring some depending on how long this continues. But they certainly would like to get this cleared up for traffic issues, just for safety. But right now it's a standoff, and we've seen these things go on for a long time sometimes, depending on the demeanor of the suspect. Obviously they're not getting away. Whether they've established communication via cell phone or if the individual is, trying to scream back at them. At this point in time, we just don't have that information. But that would be the policy for them to try and get the suspect, talk to the suspect, acquire the ability to at least communicate with the suspect, and then talk them out of this situation with the realization there's nowhere to go. You can't get away, and this is going to end at some time. The sooner it ends, the better it is for you, and try and use that ideology to try and get the suspect to just give themselves up. It usually works, but you don't know who you're dealing with here. You don't know if drugs or alcohol are involved, and you don't know if the suspect has a weapon. I mean, it's possible, and officers almost always have to assume that, depending on the information they got at the scene where the hit and run happened. So at this point in time, it just continues. It can go on for a long time. We've seen that in the past sometimes as well. These standoffs are difficult to deal with, and right now LAPD just trying to get everything in place so when they do escalate this a little bit to try and get the suspect out of this vehicle, everyone around the surrounding area is safe. They want to make sure that the public is safe in an incident like this and their actions don't lead to someone being harmed. We've seen no movement from the vehicle. The windows are blacked out. That's one of the reasons officers wanted to use the beanbag round initially and immediately, because they really want to get some idea how many people are in that vehicle, exactly what they're dealing with, get a peek inside. And so they have the back window and that right rear window busted out with the beanbag rounds. You can see in there a little bit. But at this point in time, how this is going to continue on is somewhat unclear. They would love to talk the suspect out of this, but if they have to escalate this and move in, then they want to make sure everything in the surrounding area is clear and safe. Right now, we've seen no indication that there's any movement inside the vehicle because the windows are blacked out. We can't tell if there's more than just a driver on board the vehicle. I'm sure LAPD has a real good assessment of that right now, but we certainly can't tell from this shot. They probably, or they may know and have a real good description of the suspect. There was a hit and run, a misdemeanor hit and run, nobody injured in Hollywood, but more than likely when that hit and run happened, the individual that suspect hit with his vehicle, or the car that they hit, I think it was a vehicle to vehicle, that hit and run incident, there was damage to the front portion of the pickup truck. More than likely they got a pretty good idea of who was in that vehicle, and they passed that description on to the officers. If it's the owner's vehicle, they run the plates by now. They're going to be able to run the name of that individual. If it's not stolen, or if comes back to an individual and maybe it's not their car, but it's a relative or a friend, they'll be able to make some phone calls. They'll be able to track that down pretty quickly and get an idea who they're dealing with. If it's stolen, that's a whole different deal. But we didn't hear that the plates came back stolen, so more than likely it's not. We usually would have heard that if it was a stolen vehicle. So more than likely LAPD has a pretty good idea who they're dealing with. That can help them a lot too. They can run the individual, see if they're a hardened criminal, see if they've had violent incidences in their past, or if there's no criminal incident whatsoever. Get a hold of the family, try and get some sort of size up. If there's mental illness in the family, this driver possibly has a past of being on drugs and alcohol or something along that nature. So the more information they have, the better the LAPD is and the officers are here at the scene to deal with the situation they have, which is a standoff. Continues to go on for some time now. Once again, it's Coldwater Canyon. It's north of Mulholland and Studio City. Coldwater Canyon shut down in both directions. Southbound, of course, that's the high volume side for the morning commute. Northbound, you have some traffic as well, but most of it's southbound. It is shut down. Laurel Canyon probably, or Beverly Glen is your alternate if you usually use Coldwater Canyon. But that's shut down for now, and it's just really hard to say how long it may continue to be closed. Have they shut down Coldwater on the southbound side? You see an officer up there? Okay. Okay, got them turned around. Got them out of the way. Okay. So it looks like what they're trying to do is make sure nobody comes southbound on Coldwater Canyon. On the northbound side, they're not worried about it. Everyone's behind the patrol cars. Southbound, though, it appears before they move in, and they really try and overtake the suspect, they move in and try and take the suspect into custody. They want to make sure Coldwater southbound is completely shut down and everybody's turned around, just in case this escalates into a gun battle. They want to make sure it's as safe as possible. Open up again, Marcel, and just show me real quick if they got those vehicles turned around and out of there. It looks like they're in the process. It won't be long now, and I believe they'll have all of those vehicles turned around. And there you can see the traffic on Coldwater headed southbound. That's the high volume side, headed out of the valley toward the Los Angeles basin. Don't use it. If you know somebody who uses it, call them. Once you're up in here, it's really difficult to turn around. If you don't know what's ahead, you sit there for a while, and then you got to figure out whether you're going to turn around and how you're going to get back. You can use Laurel Canyon, Benedict Canyon. Those are some options for you if you want to get away from Coldwater. But Coldwater Canyon, you can't use it right now. And boy, more and more traffic is going to build up on the southbound side, as we showed you. I believe LAPD is probably going to come up with some type of strategy here soon on how they want to handle this. Once they know the area is clear, once they know that everything around them, they don't have any civilians that are in harm's way, and it's safe for the public, and then they'll come up with a strategy. Maybe shoot more beanbag rounds in there, maybe use tear gas. But unfortunately, in a situation like this, you just can't rush in and open the door and take the suspect into custody. You don't know if he's armed, he or she. I don't even know at this point in time, or we don't know if it's a male or a female. But I believe they'll come up with a strategy rather soon. They were waiting to make sure everyone on Coldwater headed southbound had a chance to turn around once they got close to where the standoff is. Northbound side, they're not too worried about because it's behind all the patrol cars. But the standoff continues right in front of a home. I don't know if they tried to evacuate that house. It's hard to tell if they had officers try and move over to the home, but I'm certain they're telling them to stay inside the home if they're there and don't come out, telling them to shelter in place and make sure they stay out of harm's way just in case. But it's difficult if they tried to get them around the other side, but more than likely they're telling them to shelter in place right now as this evolves. So as you can see there, LAPD has shut down Coldwater. They're trying to tell a person who wants to take pictures to back off. They're moving them away from the scene. So Coldwater, northbound now, southbound side, that's what they're worried about. That is shut down. The vehicle was traveling northbound when it pulled into this driveway here after a spike strip had flattened both of the front tires. And since that point in time, they've had the vehicle wedged up against that hedge you see there in front of a home on Coldwater. This is north of Mulholland Highway. Coldwater, of course, shut down in both directions, but they had to get all that southbound traffic turned around, anything in the line of fire should this escalate. They've done that now, so I believe they're going to slowly move with some type of strategy to try and get this thing to come to an end, but it's difficult to rush things like this. If a suspect doesn't want to come out of the vehicle, the windows are tinted like that, you can't see what the suspect is doing inside. Standoffs can last a while until they give themselves up. Right now, I'm sure someone is talking about what the next step is going to be, a supervisor with the LAPD deciding whether or not they're going to try and open up more of the windows with more beanbag rounds, whether they're going to possibly get some tear gas to the scene and shoot that inside the vehicle. You just don't have a lot of options at this point in time, because just rushing up to the vehicle isn't an option because it's not safe for the officers. So we hope this ends soon. We hope it ends soon and safely without incident. Again, Coldwater Canyon, that's shut down. You see them there, but as you open up, you'll see all the traffic just having to turn around, getting off of Coldwater. So Laurel Canyon, Benedict Canyon, those are your routes to avoid. They may have shut it down even further than our cameras. You don't have to go all the way, Marcel. But they may shut it down around Ventura Boulevard possibly, just for all that traffic. We believe that's where they went to. They just don't want to deal with all that southbound traffic coming up here and getting in the way. And it's better to keep people turned around at Ventura Boulevard than get them up here and have them turn around on this, two-lane roadway of Coldwater Canyon. But the standoff continues. We really haven't seen much in the way of movement, really, by officers or the suspect. We can't see inside the vehicle for probably the last 10 minutes or so. I think maybe we've been here about 15 to 20. The pursuit terminated here in this driveway. Suspect looked like they were going to stop several occasions on Mulholland Highway. They just started to get off onto a turnoff and then just continued on. Never at a high rate of speed. Maybe 25 miles an hour from the point we picked it up, maximum, most of it around 15 miles an hour. That made it very easy for the LAPD to put out a spike strip. It was effective. It got the two front tires, and then the suspect finally was starting to lose control of the vehicle a bit, and they came off into this driveway. They did start to try and get away. They did a pit maneuver a couple of times. It was unsuccessful, sort of. It did get the vehicle out of control a bit, and then it went into the driveway. Then they hit it with another vehicle behind, and then they got the other cars right behind, the patrol cars right behind it. Suspect did try and drive towards the officers for a moment, and then maybe try and make a left turn there and get back onto Coldwater, but they just had the vehicle wedged in too tight, and so that didn't work, and now it's just a standoff. As I mentioned, we haven't seen much change here in the last 15 to 20 minutes since the suspect pulled off into this driveway. Coldwater Canyon's been shut down now, both north and southbound here north of Mulholland, up in Studio City in the Hollywood Hills, and now the slow standoff continues. These things can go on for some time if you have a suspect that is not cooperating. Copy. We are hearing that they asked for a medical evaluation unit to respond. It's probably pretty standard in a situation like this. Whether they did that because it's just code and it's standard in a situation, or they know something about the suspect and they know this individual may need some evaluation, it's unclear. They may have some information of what they're dealing with from the witness who saw the hit and run in Hollywood. There was damage to the front of the vehicle when we first saw it. That, we believe, occurred at the hit and run there in some place in Hollywood. Don't know exactly where. From that point, there was the pursuit. It was misdemeanor hit and run. No one was injured, so that is good news. And the pursuit was never at a high rate of speed, as I mentioned. But now just the standoff, it continues, and we should see, I would think, some sort of movement by the LAPD here sometime soon. They've cleared Coldwater Canyon. They pretty much have everyone in those homes sheltering in place. They have officers surrounding the vehicle. There was some information we heard they may shoot another beanbag round into the vehicle. So I think at some point in time we're going to see them start to move forward to try and escalate this a little bit, see if they can't persuade the suspect to give themselves up, but we've seen no indication from the suspect that, you know, they're willing to do anything at this point in time. The door hasn't opened. We can't see into the vehicle because the windows are black. They're tinted. They're blacked out, so we can't see any movement inside the vehicle. And that's a challenge for officers as well, because they can't see inside the vehicle. They don't know what the suspect is doing, except for those small holes that they busted out with the beanbag rounds. So we'll see if more units respond. We're hoping, again, the suspect just comes to their senses and realize there's no chance of giving up or getting out of this. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when LAPD take them into custody. There we go. Looks like, is that the door opening up on the vehicle? There we go. Let's try and move around a little bit. I can't tell. It appears to be a female. She got out and then got back in. That's the first movement that we have seen from the suspect. So the suspect did get out of the vehicle. See if we can go around the other side a little bit and get that door. She opens it up once again. She did come out for a moment. It looks like she looked at officers, may have said something, and then turned right back turned around and got right back in the truck. So hopefully that's an indication that she's coming to her senses. It appeared to be a female, and that she's going to give herself up to police here in a moment. But that was the only escalation we have seen since we got here. She came out of the vehicle just for momentarily and then went right back in. You'll have to stay tight because of the tree. So we're moving around with a helicopter here to get a better shot. Once we get real tight, it can be challenging for us. The helicopter, or I shouldn't say the helicopter, but the camera doesn't like to look straight down. It's very difficult, and sometimes the shot will spin if you're too steep. So we come around, we might have to open up a little bit. But we wanted to come to this side because this is the only activity we've seen moments ago when she opened that door. And it looked like for a moment there she might be giving herself up to officers. She walked maybe 2 steps away from the vehicle, looked at officers, looks like she was saying something, and turned around and got right back inside the truck. You can hold it right here. Don't drift any further. Hit the door. There you go. Copy that, Larry. 5 minutes to cut in. Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. I'll give you guys just a little bit of feedback on what play-by, but what goes on with us. When we shoot straight down like this, you'll see from time to time the picture will get a little hazy. And what happens is our exhaust gets in the way. The downwash from the rotors gets down to where the camera is in front of us, and then we see that heat. It's difficult when we shoot straight down. That happens more than if we're obviously away, and the angle is different with the camera. So if you see that, that's what you're seeing, and that's why you're seeing it. You see it a little bit right there. You see a little distortion in the picture, and that is just heat from the helicopter's exhaust being pushed down from the blaze in front of the camera lens. It's a little more challenging when we're shooting straight down like this. And my pilot, Marcel is my cameraman. He's amazing, and the best cameraman I've ever worked with by far. Well, Rob's right up there, you know, Rob Kluckman. But and then my pilot is great. Kyle's with me today, and it certainly helps to have a great crew like that. I mean, it's all the difference in the world. Yeah, so they're making this work out easy for me to talk about, because we can see that door. And now we're getting some information that may be an unreported stolen. So if that is the case, that changes the situation a little bit. It changes it because officers wouldn't be able to really get some sort of idea who this individual is. If it came back that the woman who got out of that vehicle matched a description to the driver's license that this vehicle may have been registered to, or the individual, then they know who they're dealing with. If it's stolen, you just have no idea. That's unconfirmed, though. We did hear that over the scanner. We're not saying that it is stolen for sure. Sometimes this information comes to us. We don't want to report it as a fact initially. That was an LAPD helicopter just flew right through the scene there. They're overhead. And we're well above them. They're 500 feet above the incident. We're 1,000 feet above the incident. And it really gives you an idea just how great the camera is, how far away we are, and just how tight that shot is. But at this point in time, we just hope the woman gets out of the vehicle and gives herself up. We don't see a danger to anybody in this situation. There's no place for the vehicle to go. The home, open up just a little bit. There's a couple of homes here right off Coldwater Canyon. It's north of Mulholland, and you can see that they're telling everybody to shelter in place, stay inside your homes. They've done that already. They've shut down Coldwater Canyon coming southbound. I believe that shut down at Ventura Boulevard because we don't see a lot of traffic coming through any longer, so that has been closed. They shut down Coldwater Canyon northbound from Mulholland Highway. The suspect was on Mulholland Highway for a while, just went 15, 20 miles an hour. Very hesitant from time to time, stopping, then thinking about maybe some indecision, getting off into a turnout, then continuing on. The spike strip did get the two front tires flat, and since that time, the pit maneuver worked. It was effective initially, not so much in the second time. Spun the truck around into that hedge you see there. They were able to pin the vehicle in, and now the suspect can't get out. If you weren't with us moments ago, the suspect did get out of the vehicle, walked out for a moment, appeared to be a female, looked like a female, walked towards the officers and immediately turned around, got back inside the vehicle and shut the door. Copy. What are we doing in 90, Larry? What's the hit? Okay. Self-toss? All right, thank you. Okay, I got a hit coming up here in about 60. Hold on. 1 minute out. Highway along Coldwater Canyon. They did a spike strip and a pit maneuver. Finally, the vehicle came into this driveway here in front of a home on Coldwater Canyon, and we have a standoff. Coldwater Canyon remains shut down in both directions. From Air 7, I'm Scott Reif, ABC 7 Eyewitness News. Thank you. Okay, cool. If you get a look at it, let me know what's on it. Oh, not the pit maneuver or the spike strip? All right. Maybe for the 11, I'll have some good stuff. You can see all the other vehicles set up on Coldwater Canyon. This shot really kind of gives you an idea that's Coldwater Canyon on the top of your screen, and they have patrol cars on Coldwater. I believe they shut Coldwater Canyon down all the way at Ventura Boulevard. They just don't want anyone coming up this way unless you're a resident and you live south of the incident. But you can tell, just in case the suspect would make a run for it and try and run through those homes, they have officers positioned in a perimeter here, if you will, around this entire area. We'll push back in. You know, it was interesting. The standoff's been going on for maybe about 30 minutes, 35, something along those lines. That's when the vehicle pulled into this, or was pushed in basically this driveway and wedged in here by the patrol cars. But about 10 minutes ago or so, a woman, a female driver, got out of the vehicle, walked towards officers just maybe a step or two, and then immediately turned around and got right back inside the vehicle. So I believe LAPD probably at this point in time has some sort of idea who's on board the vehicle, if it's more than just a driver. It doesn't appear that it is, but we can't tell for sure because the windows are all blacked out. But you can tell on the right side of your screen, officers there with less than lethal, the beanbag round. They have shot the beanbag twice into this vehicle, give them a little better vantage point to see inside, but that did not get the suspect to give themselves up. Whether or not they'll use tear gas or not, that's yet to be seen. We haven't seen that. I'm sure they're hoping they can establish communication with her and get her out of this vehicle without incident, get this all over with no one being hurt. We know that in the hit and run incident that happened in Hollywood earlier this morning where this all started, no one was injured in that, according to the information that we have. So at this point in time, there was a report that the vehicle could possibly be stolen, but I don't believe that we've gotten that confirmed for sure. Whether or not they know the identity of the female or not is unknown. Say again, Jay? Okay, yeah. They were just confirming it was a female suspect, and obviously it was pretty obvious to us when she got out of the vehicle. But we have that confirmed from the LAPD now. Unfortunately, you know, these standoffs can last a long time. It's really tough for the LAPD in a situation like this. They don't know what they're dealing with. They don't want to put officers in harm's way. They don't want to be here. They want this to be over with. There's nothing, nothing good about what we're seeing, especially traffic-wise. Coldwater Canyon is a pretty major thoroughfare through the Hollywood Hills. You got to go to Laurel or, Benedict or something like that if you want to get through here. They'd like to get this over with, but they can't just rush in and open the door. The tactics that we saw, 25, 30 years ago, they do not apply today. There's none of that goes on. It's a standoff. They don't want to put officers in harm's way. They are going to have to be meticulous and slow, and they're going to have to go through this at a pace that keeps everyone safe. Right now, it doesn't seem to be endangering anyone, and so that's why they can just step back and take their time. But certainly with Coldwater Canyon shut down in both directions, it'd be nice if they can get this over with and reopen it. Morning commute, especially as I mentioned several times, southbound, Coldwater Canyon has a lot of traffic on it getting out of the valley down towards LA. So they'd like to get it reopened. There are also some residents that can't get to their home right now. And there's some residents that can't get out of their homes right now. So it's an inconvenience for everyone. It doesn't seem to be a big danger, but it's a tough spot for the LAPD to be in some of these situations. Yeah, common sense is just run in there and grab her, but you just can't do that because it endangers the lives of the officers. It wouldn't be the first time that they ran into a vehicle and then someone opened fire on them. That has happened in the past. So that's why it's going to take some time. It's really going to take the suspect giving themselves up, whether it's they just finally realize there's no chance they're going to get away, the woman that's driving the vehicle, or if they have to shoot some tear gas inside. But at some point in time, this will end. As I mentioned earlier, it's not a matter of if, it's when. It's going to end at some point in time. She will be taken into custody. Even if she tries to get out of the vehicle and make a run for it, they'd probably be able to get her very quickly. So now it's just sort of in the hands of the suspect whether or not they're going to be able to talk that individual, that woman, out of the situation peacefully, finally get her to realize there's no getting away. This has to end at some time. The sooner it ends, the better it is for you and everyone else. And, she takes that into consideration and gives herself up. You start to wonder in a situation like this about drugs and alcohol or even mental illness. We know a medical team is en route. They may be wondering the same thing, or maybe they have some information that we don't have that makes them believe that this individual is going to need medical attention once they're taken into custody. So there's a lot of aspects to this. It's very dynamic, very difficult for them to really get a gauge on exactly what they're dealing with, and that's why they have to move so slowly. I am. Go ahead. All right, and that was the order? The order you just gave me is what's on the tape? Okay. All right. Yeah, a little bit this way. You prefer to be on the side though, right, Marcel? I think it's best, yeah. Correct. You can drift this way, I think. And yeah, there you go. Just watch the trees. You want this tree to block the vehicle. So you're pretty good right here. You're probably going to get exhaust facing this direction. They're going to hit the heat. You see it out your window? You got it? All right. You might try. Hi, Steph. Good morning. You might try the nose to the north. I don't. What's the wind out of? Hold on one second, Kyle. Steph, go ahead. I'm sorry. Say again, please. Got it. Okay. I hear you. I'll get it done in a minute. No problem. I've got a good idea what's on the video. Jay, can you tell me about how long that video runs, the whole thing in its entirety? Do you know? And I'll throw it back to both, Steph, both Colleen and Mark. All right, you got it. Colleen tosses. I'll throw it back to both, and I'll keep you in a minute or less. A minute or less. I think you're good right here. You good with this, Marcel? Yeah, no, I know where it's at. I won't have time to get that, but thank you. Not in a minute that I have. All right, copy. Yeah, exactly. Don't get too steep. Back off a little. There you go. Yeah, this is the direction you need to go. You can't go any further because of the tree, right? You don't want those trees to cover the vehicle. Copy that, Larry. What's blowing you? Oh, the wind, okay. Yeah, that vehicle you see right there, there's a standoff between the LAPD and a female driver of that vehicle. It was involved in a hit-and-run incident in Hollywood. It may be a stolen vehicle as well. We haven't confirmed that, but we have some video of the slow-speed pursuit that started in Hollywood, came up on Laurel Canyon, then got to Mulholland Highway. Off of Mulholland Highway, they threw out a spike strip. They got the two front tires flat, and then at that point in time, it looked like they had a pit maneuver. It wasn't a high-speed pursuit at any time, but after the pit maneuver and the two front tires were flat, they were able to get the vehicle to spin out and then get wedged into this driveway. We'll come back out to a live shot. Moments ago, we did see the driver, a woman, get out of the vehicle, temporarily walk towards officers, turn around, and get right back in. Right now, it's on Coldwater Canyon. It's north of Mulholland. Coldwater Canyon shut down in both directions. You can't get through. Avoid this area. Colleen, Mark? Absolutely. Okay, copy. Try and go this way a little bit and go south a little bit. See if this opens up a little bit more. There you go. Keep moving. Keep moving. A little bit further. All right, this looks like a really good spot right here to me. So if you're with us online, we appreciate that. What we have is this pursuit. If you just joined us, it's a standoff between a female suspect driving that vehicle and LAPD officers on Coldwater Canyon in the Studio City area, north of Mulholland. Now, it started as a hit and run, we understand, a misdemeanor hit and run because nobody was injured in Hollywood. The suspect drove at a very slow rate of speed, 15, 20 miles an hour, northbound on Laurel Canyon, then got on Mulholland Highway, went westbound, then came towards the Coldwater Canyon area, and that's where they threw out a spike strip. They got the two front tires flat. LAPD did a spike strip. It was easy because it's a two-lane highway there at Coldwater Canyon, and the vehicle was traveling at such a slow rate of speed, like 15, 20 miles an hour. At that point in time, the suspect turns north on Coldwater Canyon, headed up towards the San Fernando Valley. Both tires were flat. They tried to speed up a little bit. They were losing control of the vehicle. And then LAPD moved in. They did a pit maneuver once it was clear, once they had shut down some of the traffic on Coldwater Canyon coming southbound. The vehicle was northbound. They did the pit maneuver. They got the vehicle to spin out a bit. They hit it a second time. And then the suspect vehicle swerved a little bit, went into the driveway that you see here, and got wedged in between that shrub, and they got the patrol cars behind it. Now, about 20 minutes or so ago, the suspect did come out of the vehicle. It was a woman. She walked towards maybe one or two steps towards the patrol car, turned around, and went right back inside the vehicle. They have shot some beanbag rounds in the vehicle. On the back, it's hard to tell. And then on the right side, they also shot out a hole in the window, probably to try and give them a better look inside to get an idea what they're dealing with, and also more than likely to try and startle that suspect and just really get them to get out of the vehicle. At this point in time, though, it's a standoff. It's been going on for some time. I think the standoff itself's probably been going off for about 30 to 40 minutes, somewhere in that range. The pursuit probably started over an hour ago, an hour and 15 minutes ago or so. They're hoping that she will just give herself up without incident here. They have shut down Coldwater Canyon in both directions. They have patrol cars in a perimeter surrounding the area. They have people in the area sheltering in place, staying inside their homes. A portion of Coldwater right off of Ventura Boulevard has been shut down. We understand that Harvard Westlake was shut down for a moment as far as access, but now they're allowing people to get into, students and faculty, into the high school there. And it's just a standoff. These things can take forever. We're hoping that she comes to her senses and gives herself up sometime soon. In the meantime, don't use Coldwater Canyon. You can't get through. They're just going to turn you around. Laurel Canyon, Benedict Canyon, those are good alternates when Coldwater is closed, but you can't use Coldwater Canyon. It is closed in both directions, and it will be until this comes to an end. I did not hear that. So I just got some information from Jay, who runs our desk and gives me a lot of information. It turns out, we mentioned earlier, it may have been a possible stolen. Now they believe that it is not stolen. So we don't believe the vehicle's stolen, which means more than likely that LAPD has a really good idea who's inside this vehicle by now. If it's not stolen, they got a good description, a good view of the woman who got out of the vehicle. If the car is registered to her, then obviously they'll know who it is. If it's not registered to her, if it's registered to someone else, they'll be checking with that individual to see who could have your car right now. And they've probably done that because they've confirmed, or we've gotten information now, they don't believe it's stolen. The plates didn't come back stolen. They more than likely have checked. Now I hear that Harvard Westlake is on lockdown, which is, boy, that is hard to understand from this vantage point. It's quite a ways from here. The standoff really is nowhere close to that over on Ventura Boulevard and Coldwater Canyon, but we are hearing that they put them on lockdown. So that's going to affect certainly the situation there. Maybe they just don't want any of the students leaving the campus. That might make a little sense while they're doing that, but we understand they're on lockdown now. This standoff's been going on for quite some time. Not sure exactly what the strategy is going to be for the LAPD, if they're going to shoot some tear gas in there. Maybe they've established communication. We don't know that. And if they have, they're just going to try and continue to talk this woman out of the vehicle, get her out without incident, maybe get her some medical attention if she needs it. It's unclear if it might be under the influence of drugs or alcohol, or maybe have some medical issue that she needs to be attended to, some mental health issue. It's all unclear. It's just a standoff, and we've seen these in the past. They can go on for a long time if the suspect does not cooperate. Yeah. Probably 15. Probably 15. All right, sounds good. Thank you. So if you just joined us, the standoff continues here in Studio City. We haven't seen really much take place in the last 15, 20 minutes or so. About 20, maybe even 30 minutes ago, the driver, a woman of that pickup truck, got out for a moment and then got right back in. It started probably close to an hour and a half ago now, I believe, in the Hollywood area as a hit and run, misdemeanor hit and run, nobody hurt. That's when the pursuit continued on Laurel Canyon, on the Mulholland Highway, and ended here in front of this driveway, in front of this home, on Coldwater Canyon to the north side of Mulholland. And Coldwater Canyon is shut down in both directions. They don't want anybody into this area, and it's just been a standoff. And we haven't seen much activity by the LAPD officers that are behind the vehicle. We did see them early on shoot a couple of holes in the windows with the beanbag rounds, but since that time, and since she came out of the vehicle momentarily, we haven't really seen much in the way of any movement here. There's not much going on. Exactly what the strategy is going to be, we don't know at this point in time. Maybe they feel that everything is safe. Maybe they have communication with this individual, with the suspect, and they're in the process of trying to talk her out of the vehicle without incident. It's just hard to say at this point in time. We understand that a medical team is standing by just in case. We don't know if drugs or alcohol are involved. We don't know if it's a mental health issue, but obviously the woman is very distraught. She was never driving at a high rate of speed. It was a slow speed pursuit. She was very indecisive. I wouldn't say dangerous driving, but just kind of driving where all of a sudden it looks like she's going to pull over and then decided not to. And then again, tried to pull into a turnout and then decided not to. And then at the end, it ended after a spike strip, flattened the two front tires. She started to lose control of the vehicle a little bit, but still traveling at a slow rate of speed, 15, 20 miles an hour. That's when they did the pit maneuver, hit her from behind, got her to spin out, and then moved the vehicles in behind her to wedge her up against the hedge you see in front of that home. She can't get out. She tried for a while to try and back the vehicle up, but they had the vehicle wedged in there pretty tight. And now we see officers just standing by. So I'm sure there's a supervisor coming up with a strategy on exactly how they want to handle this. It doesn't appear that there's any rush. Like I mentioned, they may have communication with her. That's unclear. They have got people in the area to shelter in place, so there's no concern really for them for the most part. They've shut down Coldwater Canyon once again in both directions. And now it's just a waiting game to see how long it's going to take before she gives herself up to police. Okay. All right, copy.
Channel 1, Channel 2, Channel 3, Channel 5.